Hi everyone, this is Stacy from The Sound Couple, and I'm sharing how we protect our Chauvet lights with this waterproof rain cover that I made. We use the Chauvet 4-bar Tris Flex Quads as our primary lights. I had made our current set about 5 years ago, and for the small amount of times that we've had to use them, their condition is still great. Maybe an occasional hole here or there, but really nothing a small piece of clear packing tape couldn't fix. There have been quite a few questions coming from you and requests for a tutorial on these, so today I thought I'm going to walk you through those steps on how you can make your own. The example will be for the Chauvet with the measurements that I'm giving you, but you should be able to adapt this to your specific light. To make this, you're going to need a heavy-duty shower curtain, elastic, and a sewing machine. And if you aren't that handy and able to sew straight lines like Bert, find a handy friend and share this video. So come along, let's go ahead and get started. Before we begin, let me share with you how I got the measurements for this particular light, and hopefully this will help you be able to adjust it to your dimensions that you will need. These are the dimensions for the Chauvet lights that we have, and I just kind of took 47 as the main length, bumped it up a little bit to get about 13.5 as my height, because I also know that I wanted a little bit longer for it to hang down, as well as knowing that I also needed to allow 2 inches for that depth of that top bar piece. So that's kind of the main piece there. What I did is I took 13.5 plus 13.5, because when I fold over my piece of fabric, I need the 2 sides to allow for that amount, plus 2 inches for that depth, and then plus another 1/2 inch for the seam allowance. And it also kind of can depend on the elastic length, how much, or width, how much you decide for your seam allowance. That got me to 29.5. For the length, I just needed one length of 47, plus another 2 inches for that depth, and then again that 1/2 inch for that seam allowance, 50 inches. What I then decided to do is to give myself enough extra room. It's definitely okay to be bigger on this than to not have enough. And so I ended up with 53 inches by 33.5 inches as my main dimension. Now, in the video, you're going to hear me talk a little bit about how much elastic, and I ended up using anywhere from 54 to 57 inches, which is just slightly longer than this amount, because you do want your elastic to gather and bunch a little bit. So make sure you use that amount. How I laid this out, my shower curtain is 72 inches by 70 inches, so I can get 2 53 by 33.5 inches on there. And what's left over here, in this case, if I do it at the 70-inch side, I'm left with 17 inches, and this is after I've cut off certain things. Then I would be able to take 2 of those, put them together, and I would be able to make a third one with 2 total shower curtains. Once you have cut your 53 inches by 33.5, your first step you're going to do is simply fold it in half the long way, or landscape, so that you still have your 53 inches running along the top, and then you now have your half of your 33.5. Before you begin sewing, one of the things you want to do is make sure you do use a heavy-duty needle. I typically use one that's the Smart Denim, and then I happen to have a very cool foot that helps with this type of fabric, make it move a little bit smoother. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sew up the sides, and so my odd pieces that I don't want on the front, remember it's always right sides together. So I'm just going to go ahead and start by sewing the sides. one side down. Now, what I want to do is create the opening or the lip for the elastic. In order to make it easier to work, I'm just going to remove that. Use a safety pin because I don't want my elastic to leave me. And I'm just going to go through, fold over that amount. And you want to make sure not to catch your elastic in there. Let's start over here. This is why I initially did a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Obviously, when you get towards the end, you're going to notice here that I don't have enough to get all the way, and that's by design because of the elastic. So you're just going to have to make sure you stretch as you go. And what I'm going to do when I get towards the end here really quick so I don't lose it is I'm going to attach it to my safety pin so that it doesn't spring back on me. And then when we get to the end, I'm gonna backtrack just a little here and attach the elastic so I can finish it off. And to attach the elastic, you just gotta make sure you keep hold of it, because then what you're gonna wanna do is sew it together, sew the two ends together very carefully so that you don't lose it. And I do want to just go over back and forth to make sure that it sticks. I didn't do that very well. I'm going to make sure that it goes right on top of each other. Much happier with that. Then I'm just going to trim that, tidy it up a little, because that's going to get sewn inside. Now I can go ahead and finish sewing. Cut my threads. Okay, last step that I want to do is I want to what I call box the corner. And what this does is it gives us that 2-inch gap at the top to cover. And the best way I can explain is I just go ahead and pull it so it's even. Take this, and I think of my imaginary seam on the top, and that's gonna run along with the seam I just made. And I'm gonna go down about 2 inches. I want to go a little bit more than that just because to give me a little bit more space. Sew down that line. There's that. If I really wanted to, I can cut it. I just happen to leave mine. What I do to one side, need to go ahead and do to the other. cut my threads. The thing about the white thread, it really doesn't matter. I mean, if you have invisible thread, great, but if not, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you're probably, no one's going to really notice the color of your seams. And then last thing is just to go ahead, turn them inside out, and then if you notice, I have that gap that will cover over, and then that kind of makes the sides kind of hard to see because it's clear. It is like that. And here's one little trick. I'm looking and I am not getting enough elasticity out of this. This is actually pretty tame. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut off a little bit of it and then re-sew that together so that I get more of a tightening. So there you have it. Congratulations, you just created your own light condom. And one thing I just wanted to point out, yes, this isn't very scrunched up or gathered up very much, but really it doesn't need to be tight because the water is just simply going to flow down anyways. And not only that, another piece of me redoing some of our covers is that it was a little bit trickier to get on. So in the event that we decided we were going to have to put them on in a pinch, Bart wasn't very happy with trying to navigate some of that. So by having it a little bit looser at the bottom, it's easier to get off and on the light. Well, I hope this has helped you. I hope you're able to figure this out and it's something useful to you. Please, I would love to know how it's going for you, how it works. Let me know in the comments. And thanks again for watching The Sound Couple.